What's going on, everybody? JT here. We've got David, we've got C. Will, and this is episode 64 of The Next Block. And in it, we have a fantastic slew of topics from AI to WorldCoin, Algorand governance to SEC, some breaking news as well. But how's everyone doing?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say another day in crypto. Obviously, so many. I get up every morning. It's like I keep thinking that it can't outdo itself. What the breaking news was yesterday, but then
There's breaking news every day.
It does. There is, and it just keeps getting. This world just keeps getting crazy and crazy. We even have the government saying that they've had aliens all along. So that's we're not talking about that, but that's just like that's another thing.
Yeah. How you feel about the aliens?
Oh man, I don't know. It's strange because I've actually always believed that something exists, but like I also don't trust a word the government says. So it's like it's a tough scenario because if they're supposed to be so intelligent, how are they crashing their vehicles or whatever? There are some things that don't add up, but I do believe something exists out there.
Yeah,
it's got to be something.
Movies, which is Fox News and CNN. They'll tell you the whole story.
Yeah, I definitely think
what's going on, fisherman.
Oh man, that's too funny. All right, so do we want to just jump right into this recent breaking news and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, let's do it. Also, I see some of you guys out there. Make sure you guys, if you love the show, smash that like button, share it, do all the things. If you love us so much, you can send us a tip, Algo, USDC, KuCoin to thenextblock.algo. We are accepting those. So let's get into it, though. Breaking news right off the bat.
So we've got SBF, the DOJ, Department of Justice, drops their campaign finance charge against FTX fraudster SBF, which is not surprising to any of us here. We know that the rich usually get slaps in the wrist or just no penalties at all. So truly not surprising, but some of the wording in here is very interesting. So let's just take it from the top. The Department of Justice dropped a campaign finance charge against disgraced former crypto tycoon SBF on Wednesday night, according to a court document from the Southern District of New York. Authorities assert that SBF, co-founder of we know this, and its associates utilized customer deposits of $90 million in campaign contributions to around 300 candidates. You scroll down a little bit, and it
says,
much
money.
Dude, I wish I had half that. So
Crazy.
Scroll down a little bit more. The government has been informed that the Bahamas notified the United States earlier today that the Bahamas did not intend to extradite the defendant on the campaign contributions count, which in my opinion is a little strange because you scroll down a little further and you have right here, the Bahamas speedily extradited SBF to the U.S. in December when FTX collapsed, according to the New York Times, and since then he has been confined to his parents' California residence on a $250 million bond. So the thing that gets me is, one, why would the Bahamas not extradite now if they extradited then? And two, why do they even need to extradite him if he's locked up in his home in California? So there's something about this story that doesn't necessarily add up, but the result isn't that surprising.
I think Mr. Joker hit it right. Funny? He said over there that motherfucker is not real. Yeah, all these people, it's just what we're seeing. Disney Plus has even come out with the series showing us exactly what's happening right now.
Scrolls.
Exactly, Secret Invasion, guys. They put it on the movie theater for us to see, but I'm just saying, like, it's so stupid. Like, somehow I in the back of my mind, I just keep thinking that SBF is going to be like, he's going to get off with, way less charges than he should. And it's all going to be because it wasn't really him. It was something else and these bad people. And, and maybe that's just because he's got handshake deals with, Gary Gensler and all the other people he was super close to and the SEC was working with them. But I mean, if anything, it further, reinforces my thought that crypto's here to stay, and like, if you really want to make it in the next world, you need to really find the projects that are legit, like, and steer clear of anything that smells like what SBF was smoking down there in the Bahamas.
I thought you were going to say you have to become the second largest donor to a political party.
I would have agreed.
I would agree then.
You know what's funny about the Sam Bankman-Fried thing is that I be watching like XZumo and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Tubi, and I keep seeing the commercials with FTX. So you got still. So I'm like, how are y'all still promoting this thing?
Yeah.
I went and did a little research. There are rumors that FTX may come back, right? And also they're talking about suing Sam Bankman-Fried as well. But as you read in the article, we will see what actually happens. So, but I wouldn't use FTX if it came back. Would y'all use it?
No, I didn't even use
I
it
only
before it left.
Either.
So
yeah, I used it one time to buy, just like I've used what's the twins? What's their platform? I bought a
Gemini.
Gemini, yeah. I bought $100 of Pepe.
Yeah.
As it. That was my only test on their entire platform. I used FTX once. And even then, you know, I've trusted Coinbase, right? Like I feel like if you're in the United States, Coinbase at the moment is your on-ramp, is the place you're probably buying crypto. And then if you're, you know, really deep in the space and you understand it and you're confident in yourself, you know, you're probably going to be, you know, holding your own funds, sending them off to your own wallet that you know, secure in your, you know, in your own way. But yeah, I don't know. It's just seeing a lot of the stuff that happened from FTX and obviously the fall that's come from it. It really is hard to believe that it could actually kickstart and people would trust it. I don't, if anything, I mean, I don't know. I feel like somebody would have to buy it out. Somebody that has trust, which I hope this does not happen, and I don't think it would happen. But like someone like an Elon Musk, right?
Yep.
No,
Or Elon Musk, even worse,
buying it out and like and using it somehow to with you know, the new X platform, you know, Twitter, obviously, or I don't know, something dumb like that could maybe work. But like if it's just, you know, like who would even run it? Like, you know, you would have to put somebody there that like that just brings in trust. Because I can tell you this,
it's the guy from Enron. He runs it now.
Really?
Yeah, the guy that took over. No, real talk.
No fucking way.
The guy they put the guy they put in charge to clean up the Enron mess is now cleaning up the FTX mess. Yep.
Bro, like we like everything is just full circle. Like we just keep repeating ourselves. Nothing fucking changes. That's what I'm seeing right here.
Nothing changes at all. And you know, the other thing is like it's a possibility because if you look, Luna Classic is still in the top 100 cryptos.
Crazy.
Yeah.
How about that?
I mean,
that's crazy.
Market caps, though, is still everything is manipulated up. Everything is manipulated to stay where it's at, and with market makers to some extent. Like a lot, you know, we know that there's not truly the amount of volume. Even like you look at NFT stuff. Like I see the stock twits post their weekly or, you know, daily NFT volume. We know that much NFT volume is not happening on Ethereum. Like not real people spending money. I just don't see it. I don't know why, but I just don't see it. I think it's a lot of wash trading. So everything is all inflated, you know, from what I would say. And until the next bull run where we actually see maybe demand and, you know, enough hype around solid projects that have been building during the bear market, maybe getting the attention they deserve outside of just things that have been in the space so long and have a big name. That's the reason why they're still big.
Yeah,
because people know it, so they know that they can trade it in volatility and all those things. That's the only reason why I think stuff like Luna Classic, you know, is still even around.
Yeah, I mean, there's also some people that are just longtime bag holders that don't want to let go at this point. So, like, all of the sellers may have been exhausted too. So, like, they're, you know, there certainly could be that. But, you know, Mr. Joker brings up a decent point here, and we could probably wrap up our FTX talk with this. So, X is talking about X, formerly known as Twitter, of course, is talking about becoming a financial hub. It would make sense for them to acquire an exchange on the cheap. And I do mostly agree with this, but I don't think I would trust at least FTX infrastructure, even if it was entirely rebranded. I think the only thing of true value would maybe be their clientele list, their customer list, and just take their customer base and build a whole new protocol, because FTX had those back doors between Alameda and, you know, and FTX and other partners. And I don't want that infrastructure to still exist, because I don't necessarily trust that there aren't other backdoors that will just be exploited by the new people once they start seeing how much money's coming in. So I'd prefer a new protocol, but of course I prefer decentralized exchanges anyway. So I probably won't touch any future FTX or FTX derivative or knockoff brands in the future.
My question, like, how do y'all really feel about X in terms of it being a financial platform or institution now?
I mean, I'll say this, and I didn't even know that Musk turned, you know, X.com back in the last, you know, kind of, you know, early 2000s or like late 2000s or whatever, from you know, X.com to PayPal. I didn't know that until like all the recent stuff and him even talking about it. So
Peter Thiel blocked it.
Yeah, obviously he's got the knowledge. He can do whatever the heck he wants. He's literally like one of the richest people in the world. Like he's got the connections, he's got the money. Like ultimately it's just, you know, like I would say with most products, if it's a usable product and if it's something that people can actually, you know, benefit from, better themselves, better, you know, their content, or and better monetize it in some form or and whatnot, like why not? You know, that's the way I see it. Like, you know, we see every few years some new thing, you know, social media type thing or new payment system type thing kind of pops up. I mean, before, you know, 5-10 years ago, people weren't really using PayPal or Venmo and all these things.
Nope.
Like, it was, you know, kind of slower. And then now everybody uses PayPal, Venmo. I mean, it's just the way it is. So it's like, I could definitely see it, but you know, I was listening to the, JT might have something to say on this as well. I was listening to the pod or the space he was on with AJ and BitBoy yesterday or a couple days ago, and it's kind of true though. It's like people want something that whatever it is, you know, that he creates with X, if it's in the payments and the financial rails section, it's like you want it to be something of value that's not just going to be something that everybody dumps, right? That you don't
Right.
just get and then you dump it. So that would be the only thing I would say. JT, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think that Twitter becoming the X app, the everything app, is a good idea. I don't necessarily know if I like the rebrand itself, but the concept is a good idea. Making it the app for podcasting, for tweeting, or whatever it's called now, for financial services, and whatever else they can think of. I mean, the more reason for people to not leave your app, the better from a business model standpoint. So, I mean, I think that's a great idea. But in that Twitter space you were talking about, hosted by BitBoy, that I was fortunate enough to be a co-host of the other day, you know, there seemed to be a lot of enthusiasm around Doge becoming the financial instrument of X, where, and I thought it was kind of interesting because I don't think Doge won't have a role at all, but I can't imagine it being the actual backbone of any sort of payment system on any application, primarily because creators like ourselves and anybody else, they want a stable idea of what they're going to be getting
Yes.
and creating in revenue. They don't want to get something that'll be so volatile. And there was even discussion on that space of X creating their own token, the everything token. And I don't know if I see that happening either. The only caveat to that being is maybe they could go the Facebook route and kind of revamp and retry what they tried to do with Diem, their Facebook's old attempt at a stable coin, and sort of do something similar for X, which I could see that. I don't know if it would get shot down again in the courts or through other various regulatory bodies, but I could see that as a possibility.
See, what I'm seeing is like I read some threads about it, and what I'm thinking is it's going to be more of a like fractal monsters with a virtual coin,
Wait,
right?
threads on X or threads on threads?
That's what I'm saying. Confusion. I read a long article on a X
Yeah,
platform, right? Maybe it was Threads or Twitter. I don't even know.
I
But
definitely.
I read it, and essentially seems like you're gonna be able to like Reddit and those type of platforms. You buy another token, and you can move that token around. But then you want to cash out and exit. That's when you will have to do his payment processing thing. That's kind of what
Hmm.
I'm reading.
Yeah, and
Virtual
definitely possible.
currency.
And I would definitely say I wouldn't put it past. I mean, we've seen what Musk does with his what do we even call them now? We don't call them tweets, X's. Like
Yeah,
that's the
I don't
dumb
know.
thing. It's like I have
that's
no
dumb.
idea. Like
I'm
that's why
still
I think
calling
it's
them
stupid.
tweets.
Yeah, they
Right,
tweets.
exactly. So I definitely wouldn't put it past him to still, you know, just like Mr. Joker said, to use Doge first, like maybe even hint at it and say how Doge could be used, but then behind the scenes they're coming up with their own entire new thing that's going to roll out, and then it ends up rolling out and just to pump the price of Doge. Like we know he likes to manipulate it with his tweets, and you know he probably, I don't know, that's just what he does. So
Well,
right,
Saturday Night Live, it definitely crashed after that.
Oh
he
man,
probably had to do
instantly.
that.
It's-
Oh
But
man. Yeah, so Mr. Joker, I mean, one last point on this. He brings up a interesting point. Actually, I didn't know this. So he said that Tesla removed BTC as a payment method, but still allows Doge, which means they're still interested in accumulating, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's really interesting because if that's true, of course, you make a valid point. And like I said, I don't think Doge won't have a role at all. I think it'll be maybe a tipping method or some sort of payment method, but not the primary rails. And honestly, if you turn it into some sort of exchange model, it would make sense for it to not be only Doge, and it would make sense for it to be any token that anyone wants to send to anybody, especially if they're going to take a percentage fee on each transaction. Why would you want to limit it to people that just hold Doge when I want to send Algo to somebody on Twitter in a
Right.
donation, or whatever it might be? So, in my opinion, it could just turn Twitter into sort of a de facto social exchange to some degree.
yeah, it definitely could, especially with, you know, all that, there's so many like things I feel like that are just being experimented on, like just across the spaces, like and even across countries with like CBDCs, social credit scores, like all this stuff. Like it's it's really who knows. Like everything just seems to be getting redone. That's all I know.
Yeah, it's a remix. That's what Silicon Valley does. They just remix and remix. Now we got
Yeah.
100 dating apps, 100 payment. I can pay with any app on my phone, like
Right.
anything. It's just like to the point where it's you got what Google Pay, Apple Pay, PayPal, Square, Cash App, Stripe, potentially what X, FedNow, bank accounts, Zeal. If I miss
Right.
anything, I can pay you on crypto. I can pay you in 100 different cryptos. I don't know.
But you can't find coins anywhere.
No coins. No.
No spare change. Everyone's all out of that. But it's actually funny because you're right. Silicon Valley, they do just kind of recycle everything. But one thing that doesn't necessarily seem to be recycled coming out of Silicon Valley that maybe isn't necessarily the bright new shiny thing that we all hoped it would be is OpenAI's new little project WorldCoin.
Let's talk about it. Yep.
Yeah, I think we should just jump right into this because I'm getting tagged in a million posts a day by WorldCoin scammers as well. So it's the hype is there. So let's talk about WorldCoin and let's see what everyone thinks. So we've got OpenAI's Sam Altman launches WorldCoin crypto project. WorldCoin, a cryptocurrency project founded by OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, launched on Monday this past week. The project's core offering is its World ID, which the company describes as a digital passport. We know how much we love those to prove that its holder is a real human, not an AI bot, which is a valiant effort. I agree, but I think this is still kind of sketchy to me. To get a World ID, a customer signs up to do an in-person iris scan using WorldCoin's Orb, a silver ball approximately the size of a bowling ball. Once the Orb's iris scan verifies the person is a real human, it creates a World ID. Now, what I don't get also, if they have to show up to do an in-person iris scan to prove that they're a real human, can't just being there in person as a real human prove that you're a real human?
Secret invasion. What I tell you, scrolls like they've been telling Disney, been telling us.
Well, okay. Hear about this. Hear me out. This is how I'm seeing it. Right. We started with our iPhones, right?
Right.
And then at some point we put our thumb there, and then
everything.
And we worked our way to our face, and I feel really comfortable. Why not an iris?
It's oh my gosh. I don't even I like.
Oh,
literally,
now we're Amazon. We do palm too. So
yeah. I still type in my numeric password into my iPhone. So I don't know. Maybe I'm a holdout.
Tracking your skin and marks, so it is unique. But leave a comment below if you would get your iris scan. Let us know. But a fisherman.
I don't know. Like to me, there's no way. Like even then, I say that. Like
let's talk about it.
I feel like my dad probably, I can almost for sure he doesn't have the facial ID, right? He definitely probably puts in it. I think he just got an iPhone like maybe a couple years ago. Like he had been out of iPhone stuff for a long time, but like he may have the thumbprint. But like I do think that like my parents, like they would see this like the ideas and this stuff and just be like, nah, like this is just weird. Screw it. Our generation, I feel like is like we're okay with some things as long as we feel we're still in control, right? Like we feel, even though we do the face scan, even though we do the thumbprint, whatever it may be, it's still like, unless somebody like beats us and then uses our face or whatever to get access, we still have control of that. We still feel that privacy. And I mean, obviously, I guess now the idea would be like, well, somebody had to rip your eye out, to scan this thing or whatever. And
they could do that too. You ever seen
maybe
Minority
but like,
Report?
You don't even have to.
Right.
I mean, you could just get somebody in a chair.
But there's still the privacy. Like, okay, that's still somewhat secure. So I definitely I understand why there's tons of people lining up to get it. They're like, all right, you already scanned my face. You've got everything from me. You know everything about me.
They already got it.
I just want the airdrop or whatever maybe comes from signing up to this early. I want to be early and benefit from it, but I will not be. I mean, I don't. What is the benefit too? Are people getting a free airdrop of WorldCoin by doing it?
The idea is this: after you sign up, this thing or globalizes or go international, they airdrop you coins. So essentially, their targets are mostly poorer countries. It seems like they're trying to get all these people online. Get everyone to have, I'm thinking a new one world currency kind of situation. And I don't know, because then it's like liquidity, what are we buying? And there's all of these things. And a lot of countries, people don't just all walk around with iPhones and just internet everywhere. So what, you're going to scan your eye on there? I don't understand, but it's happening. I think it's going to happen.
And it's in the United States, or is this just
everywhere? Every major city, I think.
Yeah, I think I read that they've so far have put it out in 35 different cities across like 200
20,
different
yeah,
or 20 different countries,
close
not
to 20
200, obviously that'd be
countries.
too many. Yeah, it was like 20 different countries and like 35 plus cities or something like
God.
that. And that's expanding. They're trying to grow that with, volunteer teams and, some paid teams, I'm sure as well. But, I want to say for the people that tune in after the live show that you definitely have to make it for the live show because these live comments are pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
We've got Joe Polney. What's going on? He says, step one, pay a bunch of homeless people to scan their iris.
Yep.
Step two,
Profit.
profit? Question mark. I mean, I think it's probably more of an exclamation point. I
I
think it's
mean,
a
this
guarantee.
data,
At
their
least they're
data,
going
like
to
they're
profit.
probably getting some form of data out of scanning these people's eyes. Like I have no idea what it is. Just like there was, there's definitely an agenda, but there's always an agenda behind
It's an
it. Like
agenda.
these people aren't just creating this stuff because it's funny. If he thought it was funny, he'd been like, scan your ear, right? Like, no, it's like scan your eye. It's like there's definitely got to be a meaning, and a reason for that. Sam Altman is the Antichrist.
Well, because I think this plays into like social credit system, right?
Yeah,
They're doing this in China, so this ain't
I was
fake.
about to say, yeah,
They're doing it right now. They got government billboards. You do something wrong. I don't know the example, but let's say you jaywalk, you didn't pay a bill or a tax or parking ticket. They'll put you up on a screen and people can publicly shame you and go to your house. All the data is there. And then if they do the thing with your eye retina, you might not even be able to spend your money at a store once
Right.
you walk in and they're like, he got bad social credit, no good here. And that's really happening.
Yeah,
Right?
that is scary. And that's the reason why, like, when I heard about the world coin, like the first thing that pops into my mind is just like, man, like where the world is going, I really hope we veer off that track and I don't know. The thing is like, it doesn't seem like there's many good people out here in the world creating alternatives that can actually beat it. It's, it's kind of, I don't know why. And that's the reason why it is interesting though to see how many people are lining up to just do this. It's
Hey,
like
line fools in Asia, it
Yeah.
looks like.
But part of me also does wonder, is that, is it
Propaganda, marketing.
yeah, did they hire a bunch of people to go stand in lines just to make it look busy? Is that, is it true? You also have to, with today's, social media and fake news and all this stuff, you really do have to question everything you see online if it's actually legit or not. But
Then the question would be, is he using his own blockchain?
I don't think
Or is
so.
wait, Mr. Joker, it's probably a Bill Gates blockchain. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
what
thinking.
is I mean, maybe the
Fisherman
world
said
coin
suppose they're
itself.
doing this proof of humanity.
Right.
Sounds-
That's the attempt, is a proof of humanity concept, which isn't necessarily a bad
Create a
idea.
problem, sell the token, that's a solution. That's true, because we didn't have AI like this. And then
Absolutely. I mean, let's read the rest of this article.
Yeah.
I mean, right here it says blockchains can store the world IDs in a way that preserves privacy and can't be controlled or shut down, blah, blah, blah. At least so they say. However, the project
Right.
says world IDs will be necessary in an age of generative AI chatbots like ChatGPT. So you're absolutely right. We create the thing and then we go, oh, it's going to be necessary now because this thing exists, which produce remarkably human-like language. World IDs could be used to tell the difference between real people and AI bots online. Altman told Reuters WorldCoin also can help address how the economy will be reshaped by generative AI. People, quote, people will be supercharged by AI, which will have massive economic implications, he said. I mean, this is super interesting. I mean, we can keep going.
Let's
if you
keep
want.
going.
One example Altman likes is universal basic income, a topic that we've discussed regularly on this program, or UBI, a social benefits program usually run by governments where every individual is entitled to payments because AI, quote, will do more and more of the work that people do now. Altman believes UBI can help to combat income inequality since the only real people can have world IDs. It could be used to reduce fraud when deploying a UBI. So, I mean, to me, this seems like whether it's WorldCoin or some other project, this does seem to be the path that's going to happen one way or the other.
I mean,
CBDCs, all of it.
right,
Altman
yeah.
said that he thought of a world with UBI would be very far in the future, and he did not have a clear idea of what entity could dole out the money, but that WorldCoin lays groundwork for it to become a reality. Yeah. All right. It's so crazy, honestly.
And
with Damien, I use crypto.com. That works too.
But, we will need there will have to be, no matter if it's CBDCs, universal basic income, whatever it is, to get these payments to people. Like there will have to be some way to verify that they are real, they are human.
Well, the pilot was COVID. Let's keep it real.
I mean, I would say that
They-
definitely,
They did it.
they definitely want. I think they
right.
wanted to see how easy it could be to get
Mhm.
payments out to everybody, and obviously they saw that it was not as easy as they,
They have
maybe
everyone's
thought it
tax
would be.
ID numbers
They
or
have all
social
of our
security
stuff.
numbers. They can just
I
send
knew a
out a
lot of
check.
people though that, yeah, but I knew a lot of people, a lot of friends that when I was getting the, like, because just the way we did our taxes, like I was getting it easy, but based on different states, like people who lived in Indiana versus Kentucky, which is where we were at during the
Mhm.
time, like they weren't actually getting theirs, and they had a lot of hiccups. So it was easy for some people and harder for others based on where you lived in the states. That's where something like WorldCoin and like having this, single, almost like a number created once you go scan. I mean,
Your eye,
and
yeah.
the thing is, it's like, and this is, I guess, the fear I have is like, if they want it to happen and they create this new, universal income or one in currency for the world or whatever it may be, that people have to either get with. Like the thing is, if you don't get with it, then you get x'd out. Like that's the thing. And before, it's like cashless societies, like you could opt out of, all these
Yep.
things and just use cash. But if they get rid of that and everything is digital and stuff, like it becomes very hard to opt out, quote unquote. So
Okay,
that's
let,
where
let,
that's what gets scary.
it does. Let me play the opposite, because what I also see is the opposite effect is that we're actually just giving away more, because the eye is the key to the soul, right? So have anyone's ever scanned their eye on something? I would say no, right? And that thing is really sensitive with information and light. So I think this is the phase of like, if you don't scan, you're not a part of the new system,
Yeah.
basically. Where it's like, because they do scan you, they can actually clone you on the AI with generative AI, because they have your eye. That's, I
Yeah.
think, the whole thing that they're doing. They're like, give me your eye now. You are not a real person.
Yeah. That'd be, I
The
don't know.
homeless
I mean,
people smart if they don't do. If you homeless out there, don't do it. You're
yeah.
free.
I
So
mean,
we've got Fisherman Algo here with a pretty good point actually, and shout out them, shout out NF Domains being a great
Shout out
sponsor
to
of
NF
the
Domain.
program. Check out the link in the description down below to learn more about that. But Fisherman says people are already selling their accounts though, so it seems to be a broken system. If I can
mm,
buy 10 world IDs and be 10 people, the system
Mhm.
is effed, as he put it. Which
yeah.
Interesting.
I agree. I've seen reports of people selling their accounts on Telegram. Just
How do you
selling
sell
their.
an account?
I mean, I personally have never, I don't really know, but
Yeah.
I'd imagine it's a similar way as people sell their Twitter accounts. You see these Twitter accounts that build up a following, they get verified and whatnot, and then they sell them to scammers. It happens all the time. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe it's probably
That's
a
true.
similar method.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, no matter what gets created, there's always going to be some way to like kind of,
Scam.
circumvent it,
Yeah.
scam it,
Yeah.
bot it, all those things. And it's
Yeah.
funny, like even reading that article, it's like, it is needed though to limit and get rid of all these scammers and bots and these fake accounts, because I mean, heck, I remember 5-10 years ago, before when Facebook was it, and there was no Chat GPT and AI sucked, and I'd still see people arguing in the comments with what you could clearly tell was a bot
A bot.
account. Like
Yeah.
you're literally arguing with a robot, my man. Like stop he's not voting in your party lines. Just give it up already. But
For real.
it's getting harder now with Chat GPT, like to actually know if you're talking to a real human being or not. And so
Yeah.
I don't know, that's a lot of the stuff that we're that I guess we're just gonna have to deal with over the next 5 years, is all this AI, people question, I guess, if they're real, like the lady on the plane. Who knows?
Maybe Twitter needs to team up with WorldCoin, because that Twitter verification system is not working.
Yeah,
Nah,
no.
no. Like, no. This is crazy. Mr. Joker got some good points. The incentives are happening.
Oh,
We
yeah.
love airdrops and stuff for sure.
Yeah, they're priming us. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's building us up to, just want to be rewarded for not doing anything, but enough to keep people happy, right? And that's
Yep.
the scary thing.
Now, I mean, not to end on a too scary of a note, but Vitalik Buterin wrote this great essay the other day. It's quite
Yep.
long, but it's titled "What Do I Think About Biometric Proof of Personhood?" I'm not going to go through the entire thing, of course, but I did highlight his concerns right here, and I do want to just read through them real quick and see what everyone thinks. So, what are the major issues with WorldCoin's construction? Vitalik believes there are 4 major risks that immediately come to mind. 1. Privacy. The registry of iris scans may reveal information. At the very least, if someone else scans your iris, they can check it against the database to determine whether or not you have a world ID. Potentially, iris scans might reveal more information. The second concern being accessibility. World IDs are not going to be reliably accessible unless there are so many orbs that anyone in the world can easily get one.
Yep.
The third point being centralization. The orb is a hardware device, and we have no way to verify that it was constructed correctly and does not have backdoors. Hence, even if the software layer is perfect and fully decentralized, the WorldCoin Foundation still has the ability to insert a backdoor into the system, letting it create arbitrarily many fake human identities.
Hey, Sam Bankman-Fried showed us that, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the fourth concern here could be security. Users' phones could be hacked. Users could be coerced into scanning their irises while showing a public key that belongs to someone else. And there's a possibility of 3D printing fake people that can pass the iris scan and get world IDs. I mean,
That's something.
yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it's very interesting because a lot of people have been reporting this essay as like a Vitalik has like a scathing negative opinion on WorldCoin, but most of this is actually in agreement with the concept of proof of personhood and just mainly criticizes the way they're going about it, but not full heartedly. He basically says it's not fully wrong, but it should work in tandem with like two other approaches, basically.
Well,
Yeah.
what happened to being a human? When I grew up,
Well, we're trying to prove that right now with
Right.
WorldCoin. Are
I'm
you a
like,
human?
I used to just pull up like, hey, how you doing? Ma'am, sir. And
Scan
then-
this iris, please.
Yes, are you
Yep.
a human?
Yep.
So I don't
Yeah.
know. It's like this is crazy.
Joe even has another good point. Says you only need to do the scan once and it links to the private key on your phone. This makes it easy to sell and means if you get your key stolen, you basically get your identity stolen. I was even thinking about this too. It's like,
Wow.
like that was the whole thing that my parents always worried about, like, making sure like whenever they helped me create a bank account when I grew up and, storing information, it's like, you got to really protect this because you don't want your identity to get stolen. And it never happened to me, but I definitely, being in a bank and working for a credit union for 7 or so years, I saw it happen tons of time where people would get their entire bank accounts depleted. Like, all kinds of bad stuff could happen. Loans opened up in their name that they never did. And it's like, you think about that nowadays, and it's like, that just still shows me how early we are to all this and why this thing will probably be a fad that comes and goes and it's not going to be anything big, because like it has to be legit for it to actually make it mainstream, because it has to be easy to use for your everyday person,
Well, here's
and it has to be secure enough.
Here's a new orb right here.
Yeah.
You just get Microsoft to do it and Apple, and then we all could do it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted to do.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure that, and that's the thing. It's like I'm sure they'd be able to do it and just add it to a feature of the camera on the newest iPhones and whatnot, just like the face facial recognition. You just got to move your face around. You just got to hold it super close to your eye.
But I think it's a fad too, because it's like, for one, we don't even have crypto, is not even global.
Yeah.
So in blockchain, digital ledger technologies, distributed ledgers, not global yet.
Yeah, this is definitely just experimenting. It's having fun
Yeah.
with it. It's a guy who created something cool in Chat GPT and started an entire type,
Another one.
copycats of it now are being created and better ones. And it's him taking the popularity, the platform he had, and knowing that like whatever I create next is gonna make headlines. I can make a ton of money. I guarantee you he's making a ton of money on WorldCoin.
Well, look at this. I mean, this is one of the things I want to dissuade people from being too hyped about WorldCoin. Even if you don't want to get your iris scanned, but you want to play along and
Jesus
trade
Christ,
the token,
1%.
1% of the token is
Yes,
distributed right now.
supply.
The circulating supply is 1%, which means they still have 99% of the tokens to still come into the market and dilute the price. And not only that, but it has almost a $22 billion fully diluted market cap already.
Yeah.
Maybe he's doing a coup. He's about to do he's gonna one coin a billion people and then do the full distribution of decentralization.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the idea, but personally, I don't see how you got to try to do that before the token goes live, in my opinion, or else the early people getting it when there's only, right now, if it was supposed to be, it's not, but if it was supposed to be one token per one person, there's 100 million tokens out in the wild currently. There's billions of people. So now those early 100 billion people are waiting for other people to get their billions more people to get theirs and dump it onto the market, onto the early holders. It's a terrible design, honestly.
Got a good point too. It's a test.
Yeah.
Everything's a test.
But let's see what other topics we've talked about. WorldCoin now. Obviously, thanks to everybody who's been in the chat with us talking. Make sure you're sending those COOP donations to us. If you're loving the
Take
show,
WorldCoin
also
too.
Algo. Well, we can't, we don't have a wallet for WorldCoin, but we do have a wallet for USDC, Algo, Coop, and even some of the newer ones like Gora token. So be sure to send those
Shout out to
donations.
Cora.
It helps the show a lot. But yeah, let's jump into the Fed rate hikes and all that stuff. There's a lot of news there too.
Absolutely. So, as many of you are aware, the Federal Reserve decided to go ahead and hike interest rates again the other day at their FOMC meeting. The Federal Reserve hikes key interest rate to the highest level in 22 years. If you scroll down a little bit, after briefly pausing its quote war on inflation. I don't know what's up with media, but everything's always a war. But anyway, the Federal Reserve is resuming the battle by hiking its benchmark interest rate to the highest level in 22 years. The central bank concluded a 2-day policy meeting on Wednesday, known as the FOMC meeting, by announcing that it is raising the federal funds rate by 1/4 percentage point, lifting the Fed's target rate to between 5.25% and 5.5%. The Fed also left the door open to further rate hikes this year, with Chair Jerome Powell telling reporters in a news conference that additional tightening is possible unless inflation cools rapidly. He says, quote, "What our eyes are telling us is policy has not been restrictive enough for long enough to have its full desired effects. So we intend to keep policy restrictive until we're confident that inflation is coming down sustainably to our 2% target, and we're prepared to further tighten if that is appropriate," he said. The process still probably has a long way to go. Which honestly is kind of crazy because right now inflation around the US is now just half its level from a year ago, with prices rising at roughly 3% annual rate, not too far off from the 2% target, lower than the pace of workers' pay increases, which we could discuss that. But still, the Fed has expressed concern that core inflation, which leaves out food and fuel prices, remains well above the bank's 2% target. Core inflation was at 4.8% last month. And you can see this chart here illustrates that pretty well. The difference between, let's see if I can get this ad out of here. The difference between core inflation and traditional inflation, we've got CPI up here that peaked at 9.1% and has come down significantly to 3%. But we have this core inflation that's, of course, coming down as well. It started coming down after the peak in September at 6.6%, but it hasn't come down as much, and it sits at 4.8% today. So what do you guys think about Jerome Powell's remarks there? Because in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions, financial policy has been pretty restrictive, but he's saying it has not been restrictive enough. A lot of people are hoping this is the last pause. What do you guys think?
I would say, and this is what I've kind of held, ever since they were, successful in getting the rates to where they are, or rate hikes to where they are now, is they're going to continue hiking or pausing and hiking until something breaks. Like that's just the way. And only then, when it breaks, and like I don't know what it is, whether it's another COVID type, scare, like some, massive thing that, pandemic that nobody can predict, or something outside World War III, you name it, something outside their control, or just something financially, more banks collapsing and stuff causing panic. That is when they will pivot, and I believe they will pivot fast. That's when I think you will see, like whenever it happens, that's when you'll see them start to, QE, right? Everything's, rates are going to come dropping down fast. You're going to see the ability and bills starting getting proposed to send money directly to the people. The Fed Now program might even start to be vamped up by then. I don't know. I just feel like they're waiting for something to break, whether that's I saw Damien was mentioning the housing crisis. Housing down here, I get it. Exactly. Me and my wife have perfect credit above 730, 740. And yeah, I talked to a agent not too long ago. 8%, 7 to 8% is what they're quoting. And this is like just a few years ago. We bought a house in Kentucky and had our rate at 3.25. And I was in the mortgage industry, the next year refinancing people at 1.9, 1.8. And so we've seen how, this tightening and how these rate hikes have really choked off everything. I mean, if you're trying to buy right now at big items, like you're not doing it unless you got hella money and hella connections. Like that's just the way it is.
The other thing, because of these hikes, municipalities and governments have made a lot of money too for charging on their loans. So this is I would think is another play, is like, no, we got to let our government organizations recoup a lot of this COVID money the last few years. And we look at Ticketmaster and all the concert venues, like a lot of artists can't even sell out like that no more. Prices are just getting crazy. But I think all of it is related. They're trying to
Yeah.
recoup money.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The article goes, it's kind of hand in hand with what you guys were talking about, goes on to say, although prices have fallen, the country continues to enjoy solid job growth and consumer spending, which could raise concerns the economy is running hot enough to cause inflation to rebound. And it's super interesting because this really just emphasizes your point that it states that because the country enjoys solid job growth and consumer spending, typically what we would think would be a good thing,
Yep.
this is actually an issue. They want to see it break. Like that's
Yeah.
the whole goal is to break something. So a lot of the people that are like, oh, soft landing this, soft landing that, like I don't, that's never really been the
Well,
goal.
let's bring up another thing too. Let's think about this. I was reading an article in Chicago, right? In the city of
Right.
Chicago, they have their pensions are about to be depleted. There's a whole bunch of teacher unions pensions about to be depleted. And one goes, what happens after no one has retirement? There's a viral video going around. I think it was Yellow, the company, big construction type company. After 30 years of working there, people don't have any pensions.
Yeah.
Right.
So things have broken, but they ain't saying it publicly. And then what's breaking is the average American is broken,
Yeah. Yeah.
not the
And
rich.
that's the
The
thing.
rich, they made more money.
Right. But that's what it ultimately comes down to. It's like this is all like they will continue the theater that they need to do and the distractions to keep us distracted and watching one hand while all behind the other hand they're getting prepared. I mean, I don't know if Buffett still is, but I know, this past year within the past 6 months, he's like what the heaviest he's ever been in cash and like
Yep.
ready to
Yep. Like
scoop up a lot of stuff. So you really have to watch what they do and not what they say. But I just feel like at some point, something's going to break, and that's why we're still seeing, the Fed raise the rates because at this point, people are so, we saw what COVID did, like where people's debt. Right. And their spending, like when they got those payments, a lot of people actually paid off their debt. Right. But it didn't take what 4 6 months and people like and that was like we were already back above, right? People had already maxed out that debt again, like so it doesn't
and
surprise me
credit
to see,
cards are at all-time high too. They said the
but the
average is
rates are too. That's the
yeah,
thing.
so
It's like
Yeah.
so many people are trapped
20%
in it.
at 5,000 or something, average
Yeah.
5,700. So the lenders are don't want this. If I was a bank right now, I'd be like, hell nah, Fed, you
Yeah.
better keep this
Because
how
they
it
know the
is.
defaults are going to come. Like,
Yeah,
because I feel like the American people have already been programmed so much to just like everything is spent. I mean, even in my city here, it's just like we went to the downtown not too long ago, and it's like it's popping. Like there's no slowdown. It doesn't feel like the economy's in a slump or we're bad. Like people are
I
out
hear
drinking,
either.
partying. Like, giant condos, high rises. I mean, luxury living. Like it's those. Like I think there's literally like 5 or 6 tall, high rise, luxury living type condominium apartment things coming up in downtown St. Pete. And it's like that wouldn't be happening in a horrible market where people just can't spend the money and don't want it. Like, no, they're building them there because they know people will.
Well, it's a tale of two cities in a lot of places, though. It's
Yes.
you have the people that can spend the money, of course, but almost every major city is also being struck with the complete opposite of that as well. I mean, there's more people living on the streets today than I can ever remember through any drive
I
through
would
any
say
city.
it's in
Yeah.
Portland. It might be like a third of our city
I was
for
recently in
the
Austin,
homeless.
Texas, and it was it was a lot. I
It might
mean,
be really two every 5 people at least minimum.
Yeah.
right.
Like it's that bad. So that's also another sign, is you get more billionaires. Well, I'll say this, pivot to Bitcoin, that's why you got to have some Bitcoin because now they want Bitcoin.
Yeah.
BlackRock, Vanguard, they want Bitcoin now. So that's some type of sign that they're interested in crypto.
I'll make a prediction here that the stock market and crypto markets, the stock market's already had a nice rebound, but we don't
Yep.
see new highs in these markets until the unemployment rate doubles.
Mm.
Ooh, I agree with that one.
And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate truth, but once that happens, that'll signal the Fed that they can start lowering rates. That might also signal that there needs to be new liquidity injections by the Fed. In my opinion, the money makers will see that as a good sign, even though us average folk would tend to see that as a bad sign.
Yeah.
It seems
So
the
then,
opposite news is what moves the market.
Yes.
yeah. So I mean, obviously, kind of hitting into that. what things out here in the market, I guess, are you guys seeing? Obviously, you just said it there. The stock market is hitting, really close, and most things are hitting new all-time highs, and we're seeing a lot of crazy growth there. Many people in the crypto space, especially if you're in altcoins, are like, you know, where's the pump for us? Like, when's it coming? What cryptos are you guys watching? Is there any that are on your all's radar that popped
Yes.
up within the last, couple months, or is it still, are you guys still true just sticking with algo, Bitcoin, Ethereum,
Algo.
the big ones?
Algo. No, I'm playing. Yeah, I
What's
got my
that? I'm
algo.
just kidding. Kidding. We're kidding.
Well, yeah, so I'll start. So definitely I'm liking Adam, Cosmos, because I do believe in the cross-chain thing. And what I like about Cosmos, I see it as not in competition with like a XRP, with some of the layer ones that are trying to do like CBDCs and governments. I feel like Cosmos is just doing its own thing, and it's definitely a big in the European, Asian markets. So I'm always looking at Cosmos. I'll start with that one for those reasons, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I haven't branched out still. I think it's this bear market's been too long for me to actually be branching out. I'm still holding my algo USDC. I want to get into a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of Ethereum, not because I think they're going to be the best long-term holds, but I do think they'll be the ones that spur off the next bull run. And then I'm holding, at least in the Algorand ecosystem, some Opulus still. And one of the tokens that I want to build a position in, but I have a little bit, but I haven't built the position I want to yet, is Gora. We just had Goracle on the
Yep.
show. I
Gora.
do want to get some Gora. I want to delegate my stake and eventually look into running my own node or becoming a validator, whatever it might be. Then maybe people can delegate their stake to me. I'm not entirely sure how that works yet. But outside of that, no, I'm still kind of just building up a stablecoin position for when I think the time is right to just unleash it all.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say for me, obviously I hold like almost all of mine in Coop right now. I'm still believing in the Coop dream. I love the community that's
I got
behind
some
Coop.
poop.
Just because mainly, I love Algorand, and I think Algorand is a great technology.
Right.
But there is also the side of me that does believe that Algorand's price does not have to balloon to an insane amount for Algorand to be a successful chain,
Nope.
in the future and things like that. And honestly, I've heard many arguments saying that like a cheaper algo actually can still benefit, and help a ecosystem grow. But outside of
I don't
algo,
agree with that.
I was just saying I've listened to that argument, and I've heard I know both sides of it, but I would say
The,
outside of algo,
the cheaper the
XMR and like,
algo, the less likely people are going to, at least bigger institutions are going to build on it because the cheaper it is to attack the network. I'm not saying that's like 100%
even
going
once
to
it gets like
happen.
fully more distributed among holders.
But
Uh,
yeah, I would
It,
say it's not really
that would
though.
take a while. It's
Yeah.
heavily
Right. I'm
not.
thinking
It's
down the road.
centralized.
Sure, down the road, but I mean that's years down the road where
Yeah.
if it does get attacked along the way, if somebody does, then it'd be tainted. I mean, I think its reputation would be tainted. So
Yeah.
in my opinion, the cheaper the price and the less people running, participating in consensus, it leaves the door open to attacks, which is actually something John Wood was very aware of in one of the recent videos he put out on Twitter, when he kind of was like, all hands on deck, we got to try to get participation and consensus up.
Yeah.
And it is a valid concern because it's the same thing with most of these networks. The cheaper the token, the easier it is to buy up enough of it to try to attack the network. And of
And I
course,
agree
there
with
are financial incentives to
yeah.
not do that. But what if
Yeah.
it's a government that doesn't care about the financial incentives? Or what if it's a bad actor that just has enough money that they don't care about the financial incentives? So you don't want to have that door open.
Well, it's an argument a lot of I hear from startups too, building on Algorand. It's like, how are we going to even maintain our business if, like you said, JT2, it could easily get attacked. And as an
I don't want
investor,
to say easily because I bet it's
no,
still
not
hard, but
easily. It would
the
be
door's
hard,
open.
easier. I would say, yeah.
Right.
There's a possibility. We'll say better yet. But
Right.
then when you look at again, when I compare, if I just look at ETH's all time chart, me personally, it makes me want to build there because what it tells me is that there's people there. There's
Yeah.
at least $200 billion worth of people there, and that as a business, I look at Lofty AI. I see a lot of people posting this like chart of real, we should have put it up, but real use cases built on Algorand. So they talking
Mhm.
about Fly, Bonies, Travel X, they got Lofty AI. But when I look at the numbers, that's $9 million of airline tickets. Okay. And then it's 25 million of real estate for Lofty AI, which I was an investor in those, but that's not a lot. in the
Yeah.
grand scheme and scale and magnitude that we have in the markets. So
Yeah.
that's
No,
what
it's
would be a concern. But yes, always I think Algorand is the best and it's proven technology wise.
yeah, for sure. And that, like obviously, like my other ones, XMR and Link that I've been Angora
Looks
obviously is
good.
now one of the ones that after having Abdul on the show and learning more about what they're doing and just seeing like
Yeah, I
what
think
waves
Gora
they're
agrees.
making outside of just Algorand. I definitely understand the importance of oracles and things like that. And so I know that, there may only be a handful of oracles that are actually needed if they can, provide the services needed. And so obviously getting in early on one of those, on one of the winners, I think is going to be huge. So,
Oh, I like XLM too. Stellar.
yeah, I have a
Because
few
for me,
people
it's
who've
like
been
an
buying.
alternative XRP that has more room to grow.
Right. And
Mm.
I've actually had a few friends who had been stacking some XLM. I sent them a tweet or I sent them a message a few weeks ago when the pop happened. They didn't even see it. And they literally went and checked their Coinbase then. They were like, "Oh man." I was like, "You might want to take a little profit." Of course, I don't who knows if they did. I feel like, if it was me, I'd have been like, "Nah, it's gonna go higher." And then
Ride
now
it
I'd be
back
like, "I
down.
should have sold some." But no, I mean, definitely I still think anybody who's in the space is still early. Especially if you're dollar cost averaging into solid things. Obviously, we all have very different, ideas on what we see. Even on, with us three hosts, obviously we're bullish on Algorand and we want to see the ecosystem flourish. But there is a ton of stuff that's out there that's growing and is building. I was even looking at GPU computing or decentralized computing, which was Render. And I even had another guy tweet out about Flux, which is one they kind of are both doing the similar things, kind of decentralizing, that area. And so there's just tons of cool things that are getting built. I know WorldCoin and some of the popular stuff always grabs the headlines, and it just seems crazy and dystopian, and just like you want to stay as far away from it as possible. But there is actually some things that if you read them and research them, they're cool, and it seems like there could be some good utility in the next 5-10 years as the internet does become this, not just read and write and whatnot, but actually like own, and you own a part of what's happening out here.
Well, and this also what I'm still, curious about what's going to happen with CBDCs. I guess we will know in 2025 what's going to happen and what like chains are they going to use if they use a public chain or these governments. That's what I'm really waiting for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the wait's too long. We discussed this in a Twitter space, as I mentioned earlier, on BitBoy's Twitter channel or Twitter page, mind you, that the Russian government recently signed into law basically the green light for their CBDC pilot, and it seems like although things are happening very quickly, they're also happening relatively slowly because you dig deeper into the article and it says they don't even expect people to have their wallets, and we're talking the first people, not the entire country, until like 2025. So I
Yeah.
mean, although these laws are getting passed now, or at least legislatures across the world are looking into these things now, it's still 2, 3, 4, 5 years before some of these big countries start rolling them out. Maybe aside from China, China was really
Yeah,
the original
China.
test. China was the original test pilot, I think, and now everyone's like, okay, let's see how this worked. They rolled it out, I think, just in time for their Olympics when they did it over there,
Yeah.
and it's been from a government standpoint a success, but I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it that from my
Yeah, they
standpoint.
seem like they're testing out a lot of stuff ahead of time. When I saw that billboard like scrolling through,
Yeah,
like
that's
like putting
scary.
people on blast, I was like, God damn, like that's just, I mean, I don't even know, like just that thought process of just like seeing people's like obviously I just think credit scores, but like actually having a social score and like having to actually, just juggle that along top of on top of everything else that you're doing in the world, like just making sure like, oh, gotta make sure I got a good social score so I can eat dinner at Burrito Social tonight. Don't want them to not let me in, like that. Like I
I
don't
would be
know, it
so
just blows my
paranoid.
mind.
I would be
Yeah.
paranoid.
Yeah, I at that point I might become Amish and just be like, you know what, I'm gonna go live on a farm or buy a farm and deuces.
That's too funny. All right, fellas, do we want to jump into another topic before we wrap things up? We're getting close to the end of the hour. Or do we want to what do we want to do?
I was thinking if you wanted to, we could show some charts there since we were talking about some of the price action, just see where we kind of think, with still being in the bear market and obviously looking forward to the 2024, being still the bull market for a lot of things with the halving coming up. Maybe we can take a quick look at them.
Sure. So let's pull this up right here. We've got the Bitcoin chart. I'm gonna zoom out. I don't really like 30-minute charts, which is what I was in. We're gonna zoom out to the daily and see what happens. Let's see. All right, so this is Bitcoin. I'm gonna delete these because we were in this channel for a little while, but we have fallen from it. And let's zoom out a little bit more. What do you guys think? In my opinion, it kind of looks like we're still just heading back down in a downward trajectory. We see this right here, and we're stuck in this big channel. I don't think that we're going to make a new low. Personally, I wish I could find the chart, but I made a chart in September of last year that basically called the bottom and predicted the top. And I do wish I could find that because I believe I predicted sometime in like August towards the end of the year in 2025. But I think we're going to come back down, honestly, at least Bitcoin, and retest the 18 to 2000, 20,000 area, and sort of move sideways and until until the Fed decides to do something that's not restrictive anymore, honestly.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was thinking was just like, when the Fed, with these rate hikes and, whether it's the banking, the housing, something crashing, something breaking to the point where it causes panic, that's when you'll see the big, correction and the big, sharp drop that could possibly come. But I mean, I definitely think, there are the people that I see that are saying that, that Bitcoin might see new all-time highs this year. I mean, I'll say this. I haven't thrown it out of the eye, because if Bitcoin gets above that red line right there, JT, that you've drawn there, if it does pop above it, right, and the stock market's hitting new all time highs and everything's just going, I mean, who knows? It could make some crazy run up to its previous all time highs, but I would still be worried then that we would see a very, very big fall on the other side of that if the things that we're seeing right now with inflation and the housing market and all the problems that we've just discussed on the show are not resolved. Like, I would be even more worried if I was just sitting in speculative assets, especially if I was in altcoins. I'd be selling that stuff for whatever I thought was going to, hold its value the best.
I mean, if you look at this right here, I will agree that I think we're closer to the start of the bull run than not. Because if you look, let's go all the way back right here in. Let's see. Actually, I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit. 1 second. Sorry about that. Where'd it go? Boom. I'm back, baby. Sorry about that, guys. My chart just did its own little thing. All right, so why is this not working? Hold on, you guys chat. I'm going to fix this chart. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. So, David, your microphone.
Dude, sorry, we're all over the place there.
Maybe
But
it
no,
was
like
an
I was
internet
saying,
thing.
I just feel like it's, we're, especially when you look at Bitcoin, it's been making those little, I guess you could say ladder steps up, right? Since the beginning of the year. And I feel like if it can make that next hit and it actually gets up, I think it could easily run back to 40, 50K. But I think, with what JT's saying there, like it would come back down, or we're just going to go back down and trade sideways until 2024, which is when we'd see the actual bull run. The thing that
All right,
sucks for the
I
most
fixed
is
it.
most people who watch our show are into altcoins heavy. And that's
Heavy.
where it's like, if Bitcoin's going to do this, what are altcoins going to do? And that's where you really got to be worried if you're in,
Oh,
even more
altcoins will get
super
hurt.
speculative. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do want to say this is the point I was getting at. So if we zoom into the 2015 bear market, essentially, as soon as Bitcoin got back above the 50-week moving average, that was basically the bottom. That was basically, let's move this over a little bit. It was right here. So I mean, I'm sure you guys can see that with this green thing right here. This is when we got above the 50 MA moving average in green. And same thing here. So right here in 2019 now, we got above it, and this basically marked the beginning of the bull run. But I think what we're seeing here, which we also had this happen on March 23rd, is similar to the 2019 run than it is the 2015 run where we just went up and to the right. I think what's going to happen is we're going to have this sort of movement right, and then another correction, maybe not as deep as this COVID crash, these two wicks right here, because obviously I'm hoping not another pandemic, but Bitcoin was trending down this way long before we knew about the pandemic. So I do think we're in a similar setup here where we're going to come down and move sideways basically for another year. I don't think things are going to be too exciting. Maybe not the full year. I think there might be a run up until this, a little bit of a juice in the market once we get closer to this white line, which symbols the halving, the Bitcoin halving, roughly the date sometime in April to May of next year. But I don't see the market even sustaining at this 30,000 level. It's definitely, in my opinion, coming back down to between 18 to 20, maybe 22, and then we'll just be in that range, give or take, for maybe another 6 to 9 months before we get to the halving.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I don't see no real reasons why crypto would pop off crazy right now anyway, especially because AI is around and that's where the investor,
Right.
focus
Yeah.
is.
And that's why, like, for the majority of mine, like I've been buying little dollar cost average buys here and there, but I've not been kind of like JT. I'm waiting for that large, I'm waiting for the moment where I'm like, okay, this is the time to just, go heavy. Let's ride it and then ride it all the way top, sell, take profit, rinse and repeat.
I mean, who mentioned earlier in our chat? We had somebody. I think it was Damien. Damien's always got the right advice, although no financial advice here. But he said DCA is the way, and everything that I put on these charts could be completely wrong. Anything anybody says on Twitter could be completely wrong. Really, we're all just using historical data to make predictions and guesses, and some of them are wildly inaccurate. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but do your own due diligence. Dollar cost average has usually been the most successful route for most traders or investors, and just be safe with your investing choices out there.
For sure. And obviously, to everybody who joined into the chat today, thank you so much. You guys were live. You guys were sending us tons of messages, encouraging as always. So thank you so much for that. Be sure to like it, subscribe, share it to everybody you know. And like I said, if you do love the content, you guys want to support us more as we continue to grow this show, you can always send donations, tips to thenextblock.algo. We are accepting USDC, Algo, Coop, Gora. And hey, if you got something else you want to send us, let us know. Send us a DM, and we'll opt into that. So thank you guys.
And I want to add, as much as y'all can subscribe, promote, and push the show, we can get all the guests that you want on the show. So
for sure.
Speaking of that, let us know in the comments, either the live chat, the comments of the video, or the, if there's people watching on Twitter right now too, comment on that. Let us know who you want to see on here. We've got a great set of guests coming up soon. We've got people from Pema Studios who are all, Sebastian is also the guy that whipped up Milkomeda, the L2, the Ethereum L2 on Algorand and Cardano. He's coming out with a new gaming studios platform. I think it's actually already released. Can't wait to talk to him about that. But make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Twitter if you aren't already. Check out that video description for more information, and hopefully we'll see you all next week.
Yes. Appreciate y'all. Peace.